Hello, everyone. Welcome. As I was saying, thank you for joining us for the final presentations for this weekend for track F, the best track of the weekend, obviously. Super excited to be here with you all. Just going to run you through kind of the logistics of what is going to happen. I'm going to let the judges introduce themselves as well. And then we're going to get started, as I'm sure you're all eager to begin. So as a reminder, we are track F, energizing healthcare. And so super excited to hear what you all are going to propose this weekend. Judging criteria, I'm sure you've seen this, but we're going to judge you based on 4 criteria: impact, innovation, implementation, and presentation. The judges have been briefed. There was a training just for this, and so they will judge you based on this criteria. Moving on to our judges, we have 5 esteemed judges that I will let them introduce themselves quickly. If you want to unmute yourself, Ife, if you want to go first.
Okay, so my name is Ife Adebayo. I advise the Nigerian Vice
You're on mute, not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
No.
We can hear you.
You can hear me, okay. So my name is Ife Adebayo.
I still don't hear you.
Okay, since everyone else can't hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay.
We hear you.
I don't know if it's just, oh.
We can hear you, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just waiting for Benjamin. It seems he can't hear me.
Good. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So my name is Ife Adebayo. I advise the Nigerian Vice President on innovation and entrepreneurship. So over the last 5 years, I've advised on government policy, supporting the technology and innovation ecosystem in Nigeria, and supporting tech entrepreneurs across various sectors, including the healthcare and energy sector.
Great, thank you. Then we have John.
I'm John Nevergall, CEO and co-founder of ABD Group. Co-founded the company 14 years ago. We're a developer of projects in Africa. So we've developed projects across healthcare, energy, ICT, industrial sectors in 21 countries in Africa, resulting in a little over $2 billion of investment across the continent. I also sit on the board of BVGH, which is a partner or collaborator in the MIT Hackathon program. And I'm also a member of the President's Advisory Council for Doing Business in Africa, where we advise U.S. President, U.S. administration on the approach to Africa.
Great, thank you. Rob?
I'm Rob Stoner. I'm the Deputy Director of the MIT Energy Initiative, the Director of the Tata Center, and the Director of the MIT Electric Power Systems Center. I also am a member of the Commission to End Energy Poverty, which is funded by the Rockefeller Foundation, and serve as its secretary.
Great, thank you. Angelique?
Hi everyone, my name is Angelique. I'm the country manager for Clinton Foundation based in Rwanda. So what we do, we support farmers and help them to think and improve their livelihoods. Thank you.
And finally, Brian.
Hi, I'm Brian Warshawski. I am an MIT grad, and I am the founder and CEO of a company called Phoenix International, which has been working in Africa for the past 10.5 years doing off-grid electrification using PAYGO solar technology.
Awesome, thank you all. All right, now on to the logistics. I posted these on Slack before, but just wanted to go over them. So every presentation is going to be recorded. One of your team member will present, but you can have other team members help with Q&A. You'll have 3 minutes to present and 2 minutes for Q&A. I'll be keeping the time. I will give you a warning, actually 30 seconds, not 1 minute. And if you can just look at my camera, I will try to wave at you so that you know, so that it's as least disruptive as possible. I will be controlling the slide, so just let me know when you want me to flip to the next slide. And you'll see basically it'll be pretty self-explanatory, but once the next team going up, please raise your hand so I know who will be speaking next. All right, and here we go. Okay, the first team we have is Energealth. So please, everyone else, unraise your hand, and the person that is going to present for Energealth, please raise your hand. Great. Nora, go ahead. Feel free to turn on your camera if you want, and unmute yourself, and go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Starting now. A 58-year-old man in Iganga, Eastern Uganda, contracted the coronavirus and unfortunately infected his 8-month-old son. To save their lives, they had to be rushed to Mulago Hospital, 120 kilometers away. Next slide, please. You see, the problem is, Iganza Health Facility is one of the 90% of health facilities in rural Africa that face acute energy shortage. Lack of unreliable power for health facilities in Africa compromises the health and the quality of lives of over 600 million Africans who live in the rural. Next slide, please. At Energealth, we have a solution, a 40 kilowatt integrated hybrid energy system that comprises 1, a solar PV plant, 2, one-of-a-kind battery storage solution that is a nickel metal hydride combination of batteries that are recyclable and also can be reassembled, making our solution more sustainable. And 3, a diesel power generator to act as backup so that there are no fluctuations necessary. Next slide, please. If you look at the orientation diagram to my left, you can see the PV arrays feeding the load, in this case, our health center. In our case, we chose Tier 3 health centers and below for all health facilities in Africa that are located in the rural. The PV arrays feed into the health center through the inverter, and also the diesel generator can feed into the health center when needed. If you go to the right, we have the circuit diagram that shows the arrangement and the flow of energy, so that whenever there is emergency and our PV hasn't really come into action, then the diesel generator can come in to power the equipment. So in such a case where we need a makeshift hospital due to the corona pandemic, our system will ensure that each and every single Tier 3 and below hospital in Africa, in the rural Africa, will have sufficient energy to power the additional equipment to tackle the corona pandemic. Next slide, please. Now, our solution has quite a number of positive impacts. 1, the economic saving that will be realized by implementing this is $5 per watt. And the savings done by using our solutions on greenhouse gas emissions is at least 81 tons of CO2 emissions. The lives saved, we can't even start counting. Like, one facility can serve over 30,000 people. So we are bound to save tens of millions of Africans who live in the rural. And finally, there'll always be reliable power at 40 kilowatt hour for each level 3 facility and below. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right on time, 3 minutes sharp. Now 2 minutes of Q&A. So for our judges, if you just want to unmute yourself and ask your question, go ahead.
One quick question. What was the power intended to be used for? Like, how did you decide that 40 kilowatt hours of capacity is the right capacity?
Thank you so much. So the average consumption for a Tier 3 hospital in rural Kenya is 30 kilowatt hours. That is from the data and the research that we did, is 30 kilowatt hours. So we size it at 40 kilowatt hours because we thought it's going to be, in case there's a surge for the pandemic, for the corona pandemic, we'll need more equipment like ventilators and maybe X-ray machines. So we did the markup up to 40 kilowatt hours from the average consumption of Tier 3 and below to make it 40.
I'm a little surprised by your choice of nickel metal hydride batteries as the superior technology. Can you explain more about that?
We settled on it on a fluke because we wanted a more sustainable solution. We wanted something that, if you look at the future, it can be recycled. And we thought if we're going to deploy so many units across Africa, because there is like a deficit of 600 billion people, and there's so many, 90% of them, 90% of the facility that serve these 600 million people probably will need like reliable source of power. So we chose this battery for reliability because it can be discharged. It can be discharged. I think the charge density is better compared to the other lead acid batteries. But I know there's probably more research that we need to do to find out whether it's affordable for the system that you want to power. Beyond that, honestly, my team and I will still need to do more research.
Great, thank you very much. That's the end of your 2 minutes. I'm going to lower your hand, and next up we have Team StopCoro. For the next team, so Team Sollux, once we get to the Q&A, can you please raise your hand so I know who is coming next? And Merlin, yeah.
Merlin, yes.
I see you. Okay. Are you ready to go?
Yes.
All right.
So,
go ahead.
Welcome to our presentation. We are going to present to you a COVID-19 contact solution, tracing solution for African without Android or iOS operating systems. Our team are from Nigeria, Cameroon, Kenya, and South Africa. I will explain here the first problem we have since the beginning of the outbreak of COVID-19 in February 2020 in Africa. Healthcare workers interview people who have been diagnosed with COVID-19 to figure out who they have been in contact with. They then reach out to every one of those contacts, tell them that they have been exposed, and giving them instruction on what to do next. Next slide, please. Sorry, next slide, please. So, okay. But the main problem in healthcare worker have here, manual contact tracing is tedious in Africa because in many African countries, people don't have an address where to find exposed people easily, electricity and telephone network going off and on at random time. Because of the above issue, the staff need to try several times to get through. More it takes time to reach contact who have been exposed, more COVID-19 spread. It makes even worse due to the lack of trained staff who cannot manage the growing number of people. For this reason, the fast tracing of contact should be digital. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Back. Okay, developing a digital contact tracing solution should take into consideration who are our target user. In Africa, 75% of population have a SIM connection, according to GSMA report. 33% of them have a smartphone. This means if we develop a contact tracing app, we will focus on 1/3 of the population who are mainly people under 30-year-old and less vulnerable against COVID-19 because of their strong immune system. But 66% of people in Africa have a mobile phone that is not able to run a software application. That means 2/3 of mobile subscribers in Africa who are the most vulnerable against COVID-19 are out of the game. We have to find a solution for that. Next slide, please. Next slide. So our solution is using a GSM server to contact all. No, back to the solution, please. You are very fast. So our solution is using GSM server to contact all exposed people. So whoever have a mobile phone with that internet access, only with SIM card, register whenever you meet friends, contact, you register into our GSM server. And in case that he has been diagnosed as positive, it informs the server, and the server provides the information to all the exposed people. And therefore, it makes sense for, we don't have that problem of electricity. The server is where we send money, and it's easier for them to track all the contact.
Wrapping up, you're at time.
What?
Okay, yeah, time. Sorry, time. Thank you. 2 minutes of Q&A now, please.
I missed what team number this is, I'm afraid. What number is it?
This is
number 5.
Number 5.
Ah, thank you.
005, it says 55.
Are you saying that they have to register all of their contacts via GSM, or is that somehow automated?
They have first to register the number to the GSM, have a lock, anonym key, like a code, a pin, like we use with our Visa card. So they register there, and whenever they have a contact, they meet someone, and the person has to give the information to the server that I've met this person. He just gave a code, and the person will enter his own code there saying that I met this person, so that you register all the contact like the normal manual tracing. And once that is done, whenever he is sick, you just send the information, they log into the server with his PIN, with his code, and say it. The server will ask you a sort of question, you will answer it, and then say that I'm sick, you just 1 or 2, I'm positive. And once you got the information, the server would just send the message to all the exposed people that they have been in contact with who is diagnosed positive. Instead of doing it manually, going through the phone, what the network, the electricity is random, going off and on randomly, we have a solution. And if you go back to the previous page here, you will see that we analyze all the apps around the world. They only care about iOS and Android. And I think 2/3 of the population in Africa who are using mobile phone are using GSM and not apps. And that is what we want to address. And bringing this solution will help us to make sure that those who have Android, iOS, still have the possibility to work with the GSM solution too.
All right. One more question, or?
I guess one question, just how would you incentivize the population to use the software, to roll out the software?
How we send advertisement is working with the government, with televisions, like we are having currently in Cameroon, that we say that we are, because of the lockdown and the boundary shutdown, we use television like for advertisement, saying you should use that, like people are aware in Cameroon in television, particularly every day we talk only about 90% of COVID-19. Therefore, it's a main source of information in Cameroon.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Merlin, for this. Can you please mute yourself? And we're gonna go to the next presentation. I'm gonna let a few seconds for the judges to write their thoughts down, and then we'll move on. So Sollux, I see Joyce, you're good to go. Next, when we're at the Q&A for Sollux, please PrioOne, whoever's presenting for PrioOne, raise your hand. And again, the person presenting, if you could please just keep a look on my camera, and I will show you when we're at 30 seconds. All right. Joyce, if you're ready to go, let's go ahead. Joyce,
Okay.
are you?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, we can hear you, and off you go. 3 minutes.
Hospitals have had increased traffic during COVID-19, and with increased traffic has been increased power usage, and it costs to turn the lights on. Next. Next slide. Sollux is an energy platform that connects regional and international financiers to communities and healthcare facilities with 24-hour power according to their varying needs. We're forming a cooperative of regional and international financiers from small to large-scale renewable energy projects targeted towards equipping communities and healthcare facilities with emergency and sustainable power. Next slide. The problem is data, the lack of data for financiers to make energy usage and delivery more efficient. And there's also a long-term payback, no access to centers of need with regards to payment for power. For health centers, high cost of electricity, no credit facility, and poor quality power supply, especially during lockdowns and pandemics. Next. Our platform provides the services that are featured in the orange section in the middle. We cater to NGOs, the financiers, NGOs, government agencies, and investors. And we have 3 levels of healthcare centers, from small mobile units, mid-sized clinics, to larger health facilities. Next. So our solution is to create integrated digital cooperatives for buying and selling electricity with dynamic pricing during pandemics such as COVID-19. It makes for faster bill payments, recovery of commercial leases, reduction of technical losses. Customers can buy and sell energy depending on how much they need. Next. So our platform optimizes consumption and production through data, and we use an IoT system to do that. So it collects information from the network so as to efficiently gauge how much power customers will need, and also forecast for future occurrences how much will be needed then too. Next slide. So it's a scalable credits payment system for healthcare centers, potentially 2 million health centers in sub-Saharan Africa with 120 expanding microgrids, bringing it up to 150 million US dollars. Next slide. So it's scalable if you consider that there are 1.2 billion lacking access to electricity globally, and then you have 600 million without access to electricity in Africa, and then Kenya, just a small microcosm, has 5,000 health centers. So it shows you the scale of how you can, the potential of gaining revenue. Next slide.
Out of time, sorry. So on to 2 minutes of Q&A.
This seems to be possibly work that you've begun before this hackathon. Could you say how much has been done in the course of the last couple of days?
Well, a lot of research has been going on. And if you consider, like, for instance, if you look at a cell phone, for example, you buy credit for X amount in Africa, and then if you exceed that usage, that means that you're going to either have to buy more credit. And the same thing is with hospitals. If you have, or any consumer, you have a package and you exceed that use during, high traffic times such as this, that means that you are now you're now going over what you have as a package, and that's a higher cost to you. But if we can track how much you're using during peak times, or even during times when surgeries are higher or so forth, then you can gauge and say this customer will need more here, and make it more efficient for those that don't need it. They can sell what they have. So it's a storage and a peer-to-peer trading that goes on as well.
Are you guys involved in collections of payments from the hospitals, and if so, how do you sort of manage that collection process, credit risk?
Oh, for us, the collection does not come from us. We collaborate with the existing power company and also with the, so what we get the investors, so we're making it efficient for the investors who put money in to see a return on their money, because it makes it more efficient to track usage, to see, you know, we even have data mapping to see if there's any compromising in the grid, if anyone is stealing power from there. So it's, you know, it attaches, the software attaches to the existing infrastructure and is able to give reading and data back to the investors. And then from there, it's an efficient cost assessment.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Joyce. I'm gonna mute you. And then let's just give a few seconds for our judges to write down their thoughts. And then I see Ayo is up for team, Ayomide, for team PrioOne. Again, when we're at the Q&A for PrioOne, please, whoever's presenting for Connect Afrique, raise your hand. All right. Ayo, are you ready? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see you. Okay, again, just remember to watch my screen and I'll be waving my phone when you're at 2 minutes 30.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, off you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'd like to introduce you to PrioOne, a data platform to electrify healthcare in Africa. Next slide, please. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed how difficult it is to deploy targeted solutions for electrification of healthcare when health and power data is either inconsistent or non-existent. As we all know, this is particularly a problem in sub-Saharan Africa. Next slide, please. Where 75% of the health facilities are unelectrified or lacking in reliable access to electricity. Energy demand at these facilities range from 10 kilowatt hours per day to 80 kilowatt hours per day in larger urban hospitals. Thankfully, the World Bank Group, the IMF, and other official creditors have mobilized $57 billion to fight COVID on the continent in 2020. Now, imagine you are a government official and you have just received a grant to help energize healthcare facilities in your region. How do you decide where to direct resources? And how do you schedule these deployments? Next slide, please. Introducing PrioOne, an open source data platform that consolidates dispersed data on the location of healthcare facilities, the reliability of their energy connections, and the likelihood that they will become a COVID hotspot. This platform will empower stakeholders to efficiently, discreetly, and rapidly increase energy capacity based on specific regional needs. PrioOne would pull from existing geospatial and geotagged survey databases created by companies such as Frame or TFE Energy. It would also crowdsource data through SMS deployed surveys, asking healthcare workers questions like, did you have a power outage today? Or how many new COVID patients have been admitted today? Next slide, please. As shown in this sample dashboard mockup, our goal is to centralize data and present a single source of truth to stakeholders. By projecting electricity needs in each facility and estimating medical device capacity, our solution presents a distinct value proposition by calculating real-time predictive warnings of COVID-related surges in an area and the corresponding surge in energy demand. Our solution also offers financial metrics to allow stakeholders to compare the cost effectiveness of various energy solutions. Next slide, please. We expect the rollout to happen over the following timeline, and we would want to have a pilot project deployed in Nigeria as early as June, with rollouts for other countries planned for August. Next slide, please. We've identified the following potential partners for implementation, stratifying between NGOs, government agencies, energy solution providers, and also data providers. We believe this solution will be a critical tool to enable rapid electrification of healthcare facilities across Africa. Next slide, please. I'd like to say thank you to my wonderful team for the inspiring conversations this weekend. and all the work we put in. And also thanks to all of you for your time. Please, any questions now? Next slide.
Thank you. Right on time.
Oh.
Oh, right. Yeah, if our judges have any questions, go ahead, unmute yourself.
I think this is a great idea and it's a real problem. Congratulations. I also appreciate the rapid timeline that you're thinking about for deployment. Can you really access all those data on that timeline?
So our assumption, and Philippe, one of my teammates, might be able to speak more to this, a lot of these databases already exist. The problem is consolidating. And so if you have a large enough team of engineers, this can be done.
Yeah, I think there's high-level data that we can choose, spatial data that can be put together. However, as I mentioned, there is, of course, the need also to especially have a means of collecting more on-ground data about these health centers. Hence the the idea of having survey apps, for example, to kind of get more on-ground, up-to-date data about the capacity of these health facilities.
Time for one more.
So just quickly, Ayomide, how do you, so I'm just a bit skeptical about the ability to get the data need for each health center. So if you're starting with, say, Aba, for example, are you going to go like individually, or are you going to use maybe data from the discos to say this is the amount of power that these guys have used over this period of time?
Yeah, I think that is the biggest challenge, and why we think something like this is so important. So it has to be from multiple edges. It has to be from every single source. So yes, the disco. Yes, we also want to like have these little SMS surveys to healthcare workers in the region saying like, hey, did you have a power outage today? And they can report that back to us and we can get the real timeness of it. We also want to be able to talk to the governments and say, okay, when did you extend this grid line? And when was the last time you checked on this healthcare facility? And then again, the geospatial data where it says like, oh, there's some QGIS information that says there's a health facility here, but sometimes it's a little bit outdated. So we can verify the online data with more on the ground information.
All right, thank you very much. Time is up. Thank you for this. Please mute yourself. And then we have Team Connect Afrique. Is this Abdoulaye?
Yes, hi.
All right.
Can you hear me?
One moment. Give a few seconds to our judges to make their thoughts. And then once we have SCADA for Africa, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Whenever you're ready to go.
Can I go?
Yep. Go ahead.
Yes, hi. My name is Abdoulaye Ahmed, and I'm presenting our solution, which is Connect Afrique. We are building, we have a problem, a challenge in Africa. We are facing a challenge of COVID-19. The facilities are having problems of sporadic electrical problems. These problems have already pre-existed, and we think our solution can solve it. We've come up with a solution, and our solution is to design and develop a modular, unit-based, if you will, solar energy package that comes in units with a power backup system in order to solve the existing problems in Africa. Next slide, please. So our solution is basically about the existing problems in Africa as one of the challenges that we face.
Abdoulaye? I still see you. I'm good.
You need to unmute him.
Yeah. I think he had a internet connection issue. Is there anyone else in the team who can step up? Anyone in Connect Afrique team? Please just raise your hand on Zoom and go ahead. It's unfortunate, but it's what we have to do. Okay, anyone else in this team that wants to go ahead? All right, we're gonna go ahead. Oh, Deborah, are you in this team?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
All right, I actually see that Abdullah has joined in again.
Okay, so he can continue. Okay.
I mean, if you're on, just go ahead, please. We're pretty short on time, so just go ahead, please. And you have 2 minutes left.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So we are proposing the solution of building a modular solar
Can you hear
system.
me?
Okay. Abdullah, continue, please.
Deborah, please go ahead.
Okay.
No, I can hear you, Ben. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Next slide, please.
Okay, fine. You have a minute 30 left.
Okay. So our solution obviously is a modular solar energy solution, as I've stated earlier. Next slide, please. And we have a rationale. We are thinking about the mother in the small village, and we are thinking about the doctor in the village that needs to use this system, and the healthcare facility as well. Next slide, please. So we've thought about the different components of the electrical system related to the off-grid solar solution, and we believe we have the technicalities in order to solve this issue. Next slide, please. And in terms of design, we've come up with a set of basic design principles in order to make this system durable, smart, and we have all these specifications, and we can share more details in it. Next slide, please. So we believe the solar energy is going to be an alternative throughout the continent of Africa, and we have reports in order to back our case and to make a robust system, a modular system, unit system that can work efficiently and very fast. Next slide, please.
All right, that's it with time. Thank you very much, Abdullah. Now we have 2 minutes of Q&A from our judges, and yeah.
I'm very sorry about your bad luck with the audio, but could you just briefly say what your idea is? I didn't get it.
The ideal concept is to design a modular solar system based on specific units, a maximum of 3 to 4 units, in order to connect it and have a backup system, which allows movements across places and to be able to solve the issue of energy inefficiency with most of the rural centers across Africa.
Okay, thank you.
And we have design principles stated in terms of how it's going to be conceptualized, designed, and developed. And we are going to be working with partners and experts and engineers and coming out with a 3D design in order to solve this particular problem and to create a product that is ready to go in the market.
And just one question about the financing for the systems. What would be your expectation for how these would be purchased and installed at the health clinics?
Now, we believe this system will come into 3 units. It will come for a small size, it will come in a medium size, and a larger size. We can have financing through public-private partnerships, and we are looking for investors and engineers to help us develop our products so it can be efficient, and some of the parts can be developed in Africa and engineered in Africa in order to reduce cost.
Thank you. Thank you, Abdullah. for this. I'm going to mute you. All right, next I see Mike for SCADA for Africa. I'm gonna let a few seconds to our judges. If I could get a second person from SCADA Africa to raise their hand. That way, in case there's another issue, we'll just go on to the next person. So if you have a backup speaker, Mike. Okay, I see Asmao. All right, sounds good.
No, Asmao is not on our team.
Oh, okay.
Looks like PrioOne raised her hand.
All right, okay. So please, let's do that. And then Asmao for Team Shazzaam, please raise your hand when we're at the Q&A.
Okay. Mike is not on our team.
No, but this is Team SCADA for Africa that is presenting now.
Oh.
Okay, all right, Mike, go ahead. You're unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you. We're SCADA for Africa. We're Team 11, and we have a proposal to flatten the curve of power demand and keep non-COVID patients out of hospitals. Next slide. Every evening, South Africa is hit by rolling blackouts. Next slide. The health impacts are staggering. Studies in Africa show that blackouts can cause a 10% spike in pediatric hospital admissions for preventable causes. And for hospitals without backup power, they cause a 43% increase in deaths. This was already a crisis long before COVID-19 struck. Next slide. Now that there's a global pandemic, we cannot burden our overstretched healthcare systems with unnecessary admissions and power supply interruptions. Next slide, please. Grid reliability is key to achieving this goal. During the evening peak in South Africa, electricity demand exceeds supply by 1 to 4 gigawatts, causing rolling blackouts that impact residents, businesses, and healthcare facilities. Next slide. So we need a solution that keeps energy flowing to essential services like hospitals, is clean, and can be deployed quickly. Next slide. Our solution is to ask ordinary people to voluntarily cut their power during periods of peak demand. Users will sign up to take advantage of existing tax incentives, and they also get a sense of goodwill for contributing to fight the pandemic. With the power we save, we can save a lot of lives. Next slide, please. With our platform, users sign up and install smart technology. Next slide. When demand surges and we're at risk for rolling blackouts, next slide, the technology automatically cuts power to users' appliances and thermostats. When demand falls, power is restored. Next slide. But with the looming pandemic, we need this in place ASAP. We can get started right away with a simple version using SMS notifications to alert users when electricity demand is surging so they can reduce their power consumption. Next slide. We need to reach around 3% of households in South Africa to get 1 gigawatt of power subscribed to the platform. We are targeting urban, socially conscious, middle-class users and the business community. Next slide. This is a fast, clean solution to stabilize the grid. It also primes the grid for more renewable sources to come online in the future. Next slide. Our team has worked on projects all over the world in digital health, medical devices, robotics, and energy efficiency. Next slide. Coronavirus requires massive public cooperation, and people are hungry to do more. With your help, we can flatten the curve of power demand in South Africa and keep non-COVID patients out of the hospitals. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mike. Now on to Q&A.
It's a neat idea. Just my normal question, how do you roll it out? How do you get people to be excited about it and hear about it in the first place?
Yeah, I think we've seen across the world, people are really excited to do their part in terms of stopping this pandemic. This hackathon's one example. We are targeting urban areas And we would do an ad campaign to get people on board with the platform.
Okay. And who, just out of curiosity, then who pays for the build out and kind of the advertising, et cetera?
So the system has the potential to pay for itself because there are existing tax incentives for energy efficiency projects that we can leverage. You can earn actually 95 cents per kilowatt hour that you defer. This is way more than the cost of electricity in South Africa. But upfront, we would need some kind of grant funding or investment.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mike. Please mute yourself and unraise your hand. And I'll let a few seconds to the judges. And next up, we have Team Shazzaam. And Team Shazzaam, I see Asmao and Michele.
Oh, yeah.
Please mute yourselves after you're done with the presentations. All right. Asmao, if you're ready to go. Wait, is it Asmao or Michele?
It is Asmao.
Okay, great. So Michele, I'm gonna, yeah, okay, you're muted.
Yeah.
All right. Team Shazzaam, Asmao, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, so next slide, please. Good day, everyone. Yesterday, I was talking to my sister. She's a medical doctor. And then she told me something that really shocked me. She told me that babies actually die in their hospitals when they lose power electricity. And I was really, really shocked because I never knew that. So next slide, please. So truly, electricity access in healthcare is crucial in saving lives. Today, because of this COVID challenge that we are facing, we have over 40,000 cases of infections in Africa, and already we have over 1,700 deaths already. I look at a report on primary healthcare centers in Nigeria, which is my country, and taking a sample of 60 hospitals, that's the primary health cares within the FCT, Federal Capital Territory, 43% of those hospitals are not connected to the grid. And I feel pained because if this is the federal capital we're talking about with 36 other states, how about remote locations that are not visible or not well represented? So we are Team Shazzaam, and we understand that COVID is real, and we want to ensure that our healthcare are powered up to tackle the growing problem. So next slide, please. Our solution is in 2 phases. The first step is to immediately form a collaboration between the government-owned and private-owned utilities and the existing mini-grid businesses or any other businesses that are ready to deploy mini-grids to energize the healthcare to serve the critically ill patients. The second step, which is next slide, please. The second step is a novel new idea of innovative technology, renewable energy sort of, that will provide 24-hour supply of electricity to these hospitals, making them sustainable. It is called the Osmo-E, and it is a mini hydroelectric power plant that uses water in pipes sort of separated, and then uses a osmotic pool to generate electricity when the water drops from a height to turn to heat the turbine. So this is our solution. Like I said, it's an idea. We're going to immediately start the collaboration. Okay, and then we will deploy the mini grids that are existing and then prototype and design the Osmo-E. Thank you very much. We're looking forward to the collaboration. That's all, thank you.
Thank you very much. Great, so now on to Q&A, my judges.
I don't think I understood. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to do the Q&A. That's okay.
Oh, yeah, Rob, go ahead.
I was just trying to understand what Osmo-E does exactly. Are you talking about a dilution type device with a saline side and a dilute side, or I'm not sure I understand the use of osmotic in this context.
Yes, the solution is mixed with a solute. The solvent would be water, and the solute would be salt, or depending on how much energy is obtained, or for a stronger osmotic pull. So it would basically run through these reverse osmotic membrane and then the osmotic membrane and create that osmosis and create like an osmotic pull to move the solution or the water through the tubes.
Is that a technology that exists or that you worked on?
No, that's a technology that, because I'm a general physician and I studied the human the human body's natural osmosis process, and I was just brainstorming on how to apply it to everyday appliances or to come up with an innovative idea. And it just came to me as far as producing electricity through the means of a cycling mini hydroelectrical plant.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and we're out of time, so thank you very much. Team, please mute yourselves. Ooh, a lot of backups. Okay, next we have Abracadabra. Please, who is presenting for this? Okay, yeah, I see Siddharth. And who is your backup presenter? If anyone in the Abracadabra team can also raise their hand just in case we have some internet issue, that would be much appreciated.
Hello, can you hear me? Siddharth here.
Yeah, okay, we can hear you. Let's go ahead. All right, you have 3 minutes.
So our idea is to keep a check on solar panels. We look into solar power and how these solar panels might fail. For example, consider a situation if a person is in a critical condition. Then what we are planning is to build an application that can guide him to which hospital has the most solar panel, and he can be taken there directly instead of actually going to different hospital. Not only that, we ensure to inform the hospital and the solar panel enterprise in case of failure hours before the solar panel actually fails, so that the necessary measures can be taken. This will improve patient management and also energize healthcare. Next slide. We go forward with our research, and we decided to research on Sierra Leone, and we found that 36% of hospitals out there rely on solar energy. So we thought, why not actually build a software around it and use that data with 100% efficiency. Going forward, next slide. We looked into 3 main areas, that is desirability, feasibility, and viability. We thought if why not predict the power and the failure at the same time, because it would actually improve both patient management and also energizing the healthcare. And the feasibility is that due to COVID-19 and as this lockdown going on, we are not allowed to we are not recommended to step out. So we can use the data from the existing solar panels which are already present in the hospital. Not only that, we'll have an application up on the app store which can be easily scalable to the rest of the world. Going forward, next slide. Our solution is fairly simple. We will collect raw data from the solar panel enterprise, and once we have those data, we will process the whole data and then look into which machine learning algorithms fits in well. We will make the model learn and then evaluate the whole performance. Once we evaluate the performance of the models, we'll go ahead with solar forecasting, which would give solar power and failures are before, and that will go forward and present a dashboard in the application. Next slide. So this is what our application structure would look like. The person just has to sign in. They can register themselves as hospitals or as enterprise, and it will generate a 30 days dashboard which can help and can be viewed forward. Going ahead, next slide. This is what our business model looks like. Our main idea is to have a very user-friendly app and predict a failure of solar panels hours before, so that the hospital and the solar panel enterprises can be notified. Not only that, even calculate the solar power it will be generating in the next few hours. Next slide.
Thank you. Yeah, we're time's up. So thank you very much. Now on to Q&A, please.
Just a quick question on the implementation. Does it require you to integrate with all these existing hospitals, the solar companies and the Ministry of Health? Is that what I understood, your implementation strategy?
Yes, definitely. Because what we are planning is, we are planning to collect the raw data, and that is something which only solar enterprise can give us, and they can actually specify which hospitals they provide said solar panels to. We are working as machine learning experts in this area to clean the data and predict the outcomes.
And any thoughts on how you're going to get them to, how you're going to roll that out to get them to let you integrate in?
We will try to contact the hospitals there and try to get the data as much as possible, but we will try to keep it secretly, because like it's important data, and it shouldn't be spread to other people too.
Thank you very much, Abracadata. Now on to Simpower. So please, Team Simpower, please raise your hands. We'll let a few seconds for the judges to collect their thoughts, and then we'll go ahead. I don't see anyone for Team Simpower. Team Simpower. Is there anyone here representing Team Simpower F1?
Hello? Hello?
Yes. Hi.
Hi. I'm here.
Hi, are you with Team Simpower?
Yes.
Okay, great. So whenever you are ready to go, you have 3 minutes. So go ahead.
Okay. I'm Murad Gujili. I'm engineer in automation and IT. I'm from startup Simpower. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Problematic is Amin is a computer and programming engineer, 26 years old. He lives in Casablanca and works in Marrakesh. Communicate with people and touch things. He forget to apply prevention and restriction. Amin was infected with COVID-19 virus. He went home and forget to wash his hand with soap. Next, please. The solution is the
Hello?
The solution, hello. The solution is the mobile application called Awareness and Web Access Platform called Medical Record in order to counter COVID-19. Our mobile application called Awareness cancelled the prevention and restriction and the advice against COVID-19 according to WHO World Health Organization, and find all the latest news on the COVID-19 virus. For example, the number of people infected in a country. The user can create his own reference medical file recording the chronic disease and allergy from which he suffers. You can share with his doctor by a simple send email, WhatsApp, or SMS. This is last functionality will be used by the medical profession and the emergency service to avoid possible error during their intervention. Programmer an intelligent alarm which allow reminder in the form of image, message, and audio, reminding the advice and instruction of prevention. Make a donation via the Solidarity account number reserved for this action by means. Next slide, please. A redirect link to the official Solidarity website. Allow a quick call to emergency number. Create a medical record in the mobile application or in the web platform by web access with cloud. A chatbot that will redirect the user and give him advice about the prevention instruction and the operation procedure of the awareness application. Next slide. We all know that prevention is the best solution to overcome this pandemic. That is why our awareness solution will have a very significant impact in reducing the risk of contamination.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all the time we have. But thank you very much. And now, if our judges have any questions, you have 2 minutes of Q&A.
Can you just confirm for us that this is a platform that you've already created, that you're adapting to the COVID situation? Or how much of this work has been done in connection with this hackathon?
Can you repeat, because I don't understand very well English. I just speak French, but very quickly, please.
Okay, does your platform already exist for Simpower?
Simpower is founded in 2018 in Tangier, Morocco, specialized in the digital marketing and strategy.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, welcome.
Okay, thank you, Team Simpower. Please mute yourself. Yeah, great. Thank you. A few seconds for our judges. And then Team Ra-Mo-Grid is up, and I see Nico and Andrew that have their hands raised. Again, for the next team, for Team Umeme, when we get to the Q&A, please raise your hands, and I will know that you are up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm ready to go whenever you are.
All right, yeah, you have 3 minutes. Go for it.
Hi, I'm Nico, and this is our team Ra-Mo-Grid. Ra for the Egyptian sun god, and Mo-Grid because we like combining words. It's actually standing for mobile grid. Next slide. This is our team. We come from diverse backgrounds, both in Africa and outside Africa, and we feel like that contributed to the viability of our solution. Next slide. So as you might know, the problem with COVID-19 is that it's draining resources, especially electrical grids in health facilities all around sub-Saharan and above Sahara Africa. And so we wanted a way to alleviate the pressure that's being put. Next slide. So when we were looking at these problems, we were trying to evaluate the energy needs of different types of facilities. So we mainly looked at rural off-grid facilities that weren't connected to a centralized power grid, and then medium-sized facilities that were semi-urban connected to a centralized grid to evaluate how much energy they would require in order to be stable and not have any issues. Next slide. Next slide. So for our solution, we developed into 2 parts. Next slide. For the smaller non-urban rural facilities that don't have centralized power grid access, we decided to develop a solar energy box, which is essentially integrated solar panel and battery. It's a very modular product, so it can be connected multiple of them at the same time to be custom to the needs of the specific center. And it can charge different appliances. It can run certain equipment, and due to the fact that it's solar, it can be used all over daylight, and it's connected to a battery unit, which allows it to be used later as well. Next slide. And then our second part of it for more urban sensors would be an extension of health services through this thing called Energy Kiosk, which is essentially like a tiny mini building with a solar array in the top, which would be used to extend services. These power from the solar would be connected to Wi-Fi communications for retreated cooling. The kiosks themselves would be used as screening centers. The information kiosks, if they need to collect samples and test through them, the refrigeration would provide for that. Next slide. So the model we developed was using something like more or less looking like that used local materials like wood and metal so that we can assemble it at low costs. All the add-ons in terms of appliances would be part of the orders, as the facilities in question would be able to customize it to their specific needs, and they can generate revenue by selling different materials. Next slide. So we're thinking that these could be useful in establishing a long-term sustainable energy grid in the facilities in question. Next slide. And so we were trying to balance it out by making it low cost and high speed in terms of setting up so that it can be deployed wherever they're needed. Next slide. And just next slide after that. So our business model will be taking capital from specific groups like These Challenge and from capital groups like Alon, and developing them and working through companies like Solar Kiosks to develop the specific kiosk in question. And from there, selling it directly to private institutions and hospitals for their own needs.
All right, thank you, Nico. Time is up. Now, oh, there you go. 2 minutes of Q&A.
It's just a quick question on your business model there. Are you then leasing these to the hospitals, or they're going to have money to buy your system up front?
We were talking about upfront payments. So they would place the order and then we would assemble and buy it and then sell to them. So yeah, upfront payment.
Okay, sorry, just to also add to that. So they will make, there's a certain percentage they will pay up front. Then as they use the pay-go system, using their mobile phones, so they pay for it within the space of 5 years. They would now own. So it's going to be a lease-to-own, like a lease-to-own model. That's what we're trying to use. So they will make an upfront payment. However, it's not going to be the total cost of the installation that they will pay upfront.
Time for one more quick one.
And how would your product be differentiated from the other products that are similar on the market that have pay-go solar and financed over time?
Okay. So basically, one of the things, one of the benefits of this, as compared to other solar products in the market, is affordability. So because they are not the private individual that own some of these health centers, and also government will not pay the whole amount of money. They would just pay about 20% upfront, and then they would now lease to what they own it. And one of the things that also this is going to bring, some of the add-ons that this is going to help, is that they can even use the solar kiosk. They can even convert it maybe in the long term to use it to sell well. So it's not going to be something that is going to be disposed. It's going to be something that is going to be recycled and reused for other things other than this. And then one other thing that this will also help is it's going to, because it's mobile, we can get it to different to really rural areas where accessibility is an issue. Instead of setting up a very big health facility, they can just use the kiosk there to carry out their first line treatments.
All right, thank you very much. Time is up. Please mute yourselves. I can mute you.
Hi, Benjamin. Can you just confirm the last team number and name for me?
Yes. What team number were you guys?
I think 25.
The one that Just finished.
Yeah, 25.
All right, thank you.
25. All right, let's give a few seconds, and then I have Yeshawi for Team Umeme and Hemanth as a backup. So a few seconds, and then Yeshawi, you can unmute yourself just to make sure it works.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. So a few seconds, and then you're good to go.
I will do like this to go for next slide. Is it okay for you?
Okay, yeah. I'd rather you say next slide, please.
Okay.
Just because there's a lot going on. All right, 3 minutes, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. We are Umeme. I would like to introduce the adaptive energy harvesting system. Next slide. Problem statement. Here with our project, we are trying to concentrate on the refugee camps at Uganda, which are characterized with high population density as well as with inadequate energy supply. Where during the pandemic situation, the inflow of patients to the healthcare facilities will increase dramatically. And that point of time, healthcare facilities has to function 24/7 and with a sustainable and reliable energy supply. Next slide. And for this, we have a solution that we want to monitor the demand during real time, and also dynamically balance the allocate the energy sources to the as per the demand requirements. For this, we use a harvesting system like energy sources like solar as well as wind, as well as we use the diesel generators as a backup to meet the emergency requirements. Next slide. In the beginning, to build the infrastructure, we provide a feature that based on the maximum capacity of the healthcare center, we figure out, and the local supplies, local environmental conditions, we figure out what are the components required in terms of solar panels or the portable windmills or diesel generators. And then with this, we can develop the infrastructure using the local employees. Next step, please. And then also we are planning to provide a unique DIY solution manual so that an off-grid solar system can be developed by the local people with ease. Next step, next slide. Okay, with this, I would like to say what are the impact our project will have, because this will bring the local suppliers, healthcare system, and even the government bodies together, as well as a community development will happen, because the local people will be involved in building up the complete infrastructure, and they will be trained. So they will be having educated in field of supply chain management and even the electrical engineering. And this is, since this is a smart solution, they can use this solution to build solve other real-time problems in their society. Yes, next. And so as a conclusion, I want to say that our aim is to ensure that the refugee camps in Uganda have the electricity they need in real time to attend to all patients, including those who contract COVID-19. Yeah, next slide. Yes, this is our team, Umeme.
Great. Thank you, Yeshawi. You even have 15 seconds left. So go ahead for 2 minutes and 15 seconds of Q&A.
I'm not sure what you're bringing to the table that isn't already widely available commercially. Could you maybe just say a few words about the core technical idea here?
Means it depends what you say about it is already available. It's available in developed nations, but not in Africa. The people doesn't have a real, even the traditional power generators are not available over there. So we have to provide them the what we are developing as in developed nations as well as in other countries. The smart solutions, we have to bring them. We have to build the solid infrastructure to them. That is what we are trying to do here.
Okay, thank you.
It's one question just about the distribution of electricity in refugee camps. How how much did you guys look at how the power would actually get to the end user and what their usage of energy would be for?
Yes, we did not do much research on the power consumption with respect to any refugee camps, but that is what will be the first step. Based on the number of like a capacity of the healthcare system, we can determine, and even the medical equipments available based like how much load each equipments consume. Based on that, we can actually predict the energy required. On that, we can figure out the components required to build the infrastructure.
Great. Thank you, Yeshawi. Going to mute you. And yeah, thank you very much for this. A few seconds for our judges. And then Team Solar Roof. Team Solar Roof, I have David and Rolf. Which one of you is going to present?
David will present. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, all good. Cool. 5 more seconds, 10 seconds, and then we'll go. And then again, Team of Hope, Team 31, once we're at Q&A, please raise your hands so that I know who is next. All right, David, go ahead. You have the floor.
Hello, my name is David, and we are Team Solar Roof. Next slide. Next slide. Meet Ngozi. She lives in the village of Ozella. Backslide. You went too fast. Backslide. In Nigeria, Africa. Unfortunately for Ngozi, she has a cough, fever, and body aches. And with the COVID-19 pandemic going on, she is scared. Next slide. For Ngozi to get tested for COVID-19, she must travel a bumpy journey of over 100 kilometers. This is not uncommon in Nigeria, as 151 million Nigerians have to travel a similar journey for healthcare. This is a huge problem. Next slide. To solve this widespread problem, our team proposes a novel solution, Solar Roof. Next slide. Solar Roof modular units are able to supplement the needed electrical power load for patient equipment and devices. How? By having integrated solar cells attached to their exoskeleton or connection to any source of accessible energy at the site. Next slide. To save money for heating and cooling, we use a fantastic soap bubble technology. Next slide. So what is Solar Roof? Solar Roof is an off-the-shelf modular unit that is designed to be a temporary emergency hospital to be used as a COVID-19 exam and care facility. Next slide, please. Solar Roof modular hospitals can be quickly deployed to hotspots anywhere in the world. Next slide. The Solar Roof structures are engineered to resist extreme weather conditions and are fireproof. Next slide. The flexible modularity allows for the correct sizing of a facility to meet the demand of a particular COVID-19 breakout area. Next slide. At the end of the pandemic, the units can be converted to greenhouses to enhance the local food supply, and also as shelters for homeless people, or even houses. Next slide. We project the market in several of the African countries. We aim to sell 5,000 units in the next 6 months after the pilot phase in Nigeria. Solar Roof has carved out a niche for itself in the quadrant where both structural strength and supplemental power capabilities are maximized. Next slide. Next slide. And our revenue model, Solar Roof is priced per module, $25,000 per unit. Next slide. And finally, our team slide. We believe we can really bring this project to life and impact millions. Team Solar Roof has a strong multicultural members with diverse skill sets. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Now on to 2 minutes of Q&A.
So can I just clarify? So this cost, is it inclusive of the of maybe minimum number of equipment within the unit, or is this just the shell and then it has to be equipped separate?
The price is for the core material, the structural parts of the construction, the fabric with the soap bubble technology included, and all the base materials to be placed on the ground. All the inside equipment for the hospital part is additional cost, hospital beds and etc.
Sorry, and what's the size? Like how many hospital beds, for example, can this space sit?
There are several different sizes. The smallest unit we're planning is like more a test site. Is only like 24 feet times 24 feet. We have a larger version, 48 feet times 48 feet. And for several hospital beds, we can have, for example, 48 feet times 128 feet and house between 50 and 70 hospital beds in one floor. If there are accessible delivery of elevators in the area, where we can have this supplied from other partners, we can build several floors. So for example, a 3-floor unit would give between 360 and 270 and 280 beds.
Angelique, did you have a question? I saw you unmute.
No, I wanted to ask that the same question, the size of the solar roof. So I got the answer.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we can deliver very large units as well, depending on the available space on the ground.
Great, thank you, Rolf. Thank you, Team Solar Roof. Few seconds for the judges, and then Team of Hope, which is our final one for the day. And I see Eddie and Uday. Which one of you is going to be presenting?
Uday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Just a few seconds, and then you're up.
Sure.
All right, Uday, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good day, everyone. Our topic is about multi-purpose energy harvesting in rural areas and hospitals. We are a team of 5 members from India, Ghana, South Africa, Mozambique, and USA. Next slide, please. Power cuts are a frequent problem in Mozambique and across all rural areas in Africa. Sometimes there will be a continuous breakdown for 6 to 10 hours, which directly affects the healthcare facilities established in that rural areas. It reduces the operating capacity of the essential services, as well as it increases the inability to preserve medications and the vaccines that rely on electricity. One of our teammates from the Mozambique has consulted the doctor who is working in one of the rural hospitals in Mozambique. He said that there is a regular power cut up to 10 hours, especially during the nights. Almost all the work services are off until the electricity is restored. Next slide, please. So we motivated to tackle the solution. Our proposal to tackle the solution is about installing a solar-powered smart grid and HHO generator connected to rural areas as well as hospitals. So our objective is simple: to install the solar-powered smart grid in the rural areas, such that whenever there is a load demand at the hospital end, the smart grid technology automatically triggers the load, and it draws the required amount of energy from the nearby houses. Similarly, whenever the load demand at the hospital end is beyond the optimal level, in such conditions, the HHO generator will assist the hospitals by generating the hydrogen as well as oxygen. The hydrogen can be used as a fuel for the generators, and the oxygen can be used for the ventilation purposes for the patients in critical conditions, especially during this COVID crisis. Next slide, please. So these are the advantages of the proposed solution. Less emissions by using solar energy, multi-purpose assistance by using HHO generator by extracting hydrogen and oxygen for fuel as well as for ventilation. Balancing of power load during breakdown by using this smart grid technology. It's also scalable and also reliable. Can you move on to the 8th slide, please? Sorry. Yeah. So these are some of the funding resources in Africa. So there is a list towards the right. There is a list of some of the organizations who support for the development of rural and urban Africa, especially for this electricity developments. That's it. Thank you.
Great, right on time. So if our judges have any questions, 2 minutes of Q&A.
I'm not sure I understand how you're generating hydrogen and oxygen except maybe by hydrolysis. Is that the idea? And what is it about your technology that makes that affordable?
Yes, actually we are using the electrolysis process. I mean, the solar powered grid, it draws the amount for the electrolysis process where we are generating the hydrogen as well as oxygen. The hydrogen can be used for the fuel and the oxygen can assist for the ventilation purposes. Hello?
Okay, thank you.
And just to confirm, the pricing that you're talking about, at least shown in this last slide, is $10 million for solar panels? As kind of
no, actually, yes, it is about for a small town or I mean, in the rural areas that to be established. I mean, as we spoke earlier, each and every house has to be installed with the solar panels. That's what I spoke about. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Great. Any other final questions? Okay, then thank you very much, Team of Hope. And that's it for our final presentations. Thank you so much, Track F. It was a real pleasure and honor to be working with you guys for the weekend. Now, if you want to leave this chat, the judges and I are going to go in a breakout room for the deliberations, and we will have the award ceremony around 3 p.m. So in about an hour and a half. So go take a break, get some sleep. I'm sure you need it, and we'll all reconvene, and we'll send another Zoom link for that. But thank you everyone. This was really great, and yeah, great to thank you.